Welcome back. Today's guest is a gentleman who has truly been through the fire. He's been helping people for over 40 years. He is a Christian pastor. He is the founder and creator of Hyperbaric Fitness, a location that helps people with health, longevity, and wellness by simulating a hyperbaric pressure situation. He has 2 locations. He is a good man. He is a friend. My guest today, Joe Mabe.
Well, thank you. Very excited to be here. Very excited to share the good news and one of the greatest life health hacks among your community, because my goodness, I know getting to know you has been really great, and you have brought all kinds of people together to help each other. And very excited. Very excited. Dr. BeeWell, very excited.
Well, thank you for saying that, Joe. When I found out about your location, I'd been interested in hyperbarics, for some time. There's a lot of people who are doing medical hyperbaric oxygen therapy out there, and saw some of that stuff. And but a lot of my diving friends had told me about the traditional way to do it, and with these dive tanks. And I didn't realize that anyone had been doing it at scale. For your tank can fit 14 people in it.
Yep.
And so that was that was pretty incredible. I do I want to, and that's just my story with you, is just this. I showed up. I got some advice from someone that told me that you were doing this. I had been on the search for somebody who had been doing this appropriately and being kind of at the forefront of it. And I came down to your location in Hooksett, and I was so taken aback at what's going on over there. And now I've sat with you for a number of dives, and the way that I feel afterwards, somebody who doesn't have, this is what's great about it, is I think that it can really heal people and can help people who have some really advanced, refractory conditions like Parkinson's, ALS, so autism, fibromyalgia, just advanced stuff that we don't have a ton of treatment protocol for, but it's also like this wellness hack. It's a wellness. It can help, can help elite athletes. It can help people who are, trying to, scratch the surface of, becoming a little bit, better person in their fitness and the way that they walk around every day.
Yeah. Yeah. You want me to tell you how it got going?
That's what I was going to say before. I do want to ask you how this whole thing got started, and, how Hyperbaric Fitness, how you as a Christian pastor said, I'm going to start this big tank and get people healing through this modality.
Sure. So without apology, I'm just going to tell you my journey. We all have our different perspectives, but this is mine. And what happened was, the end of 2009, my mother got diagnosed with Parkinson's, and she was pretty much shaking herself to death. The medication she was on, when you have Parkinson's, there's only one path in the United States. And it's carbidopa, levodopa, and some experimental drug. And my mother just went on them. She felt like a zombie. She felt terrible all the time, and she was suffering. So I was like, well, what can we do? So I went with her to her neurological appointments. We saw several doctors. I then I'm a learner by immersion learning. You take 3 weeks of your life and you drop everything and you just study, read, watch videos, read the medical journals, read this, read that. So I took 3 weeks and learned everything there was to learn about intervention for Parkinson's. And in the U.S., there's just, it's about this much. There's not much there.
You got through in about a week and a half.
It is really, and so I started reading European stuff. I started going on translated websites from Russia, China. I started doing whatever I could to find something to help my mother feel better. I didn't know that I could cure her, and I certainly haven't. But ultimately, and I as a Christian pastor, I prayed, I fasted, which means I quit eating. Every waking moment, I'd be praying or not eating and focused. And after so many weeks, I got nothing. So honestly, I was mad at God. I was mad at the universe. You don't like to watch your mother suffer. And I grew up in East LA, east of Los Angeles, and a little rough. So I always say, I will kill or die for my mom, and I hope every other red-blooded American male feels that way. You should. So one day I was just really angry and yelling and raging. I do that about unfair situations. I'd like to say it was prayer. It wasn't. I was, and I was done. The next morning I woke up going to work, and I'm like, why am I even trying to, honestly, I said, why am I even trying to pastor this church? Why am I trying so hard if I'm doing all this for God and people he loves and I get nothing back? It's a very selfish place, but it was real. That's where I was at. And I heard two words. I heard, in that still small place everybody has, I heard dive tank. That's all I heard. And I thought, was that God? Was that pizza? Was that what? Was that me? Was it? And then I began thinking, okay, wait a minute. When I would scuba dive, because I'm a diver, in college, my best part of college was I was chasing my wife and chasing lobsters. And that was just the greatest part, was learning how to scuba dive. And so I did that in college. And I thought, well, when I got past 30 feet, I'd feel amazing. 2 atmospheres, something happens at 2 atmospheres where if you're tired, you're awake. If your muscles ache, they don't ache anymore. All pain shuts off. And I thought about that. And I thought, well, I can't get my mom in the ocean. She's got Parkinson's. I can't even get her in a car. I mean, she was shaking herself. For her to, at that point, to move her from a chair was a lot of problems. She couldn't start or stop, couldn't get out of bed, had continence issue, everything. And I thought, well, I can't get her fins. I can't get her certified to dive, feel better. Oh, airlock, dive tank, airlock, kind of like decompression sickness, so I came into hyperbarics in the whole field from a diving perspective, not from a medical perspective. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to build a dive tank. And so I got some friends together. It took me a year. I begged. I used to say stole, but not too far away from that. And I put together my first chamber. First one failed because pressure is a big deal. You got to do it right. And my second one, within 2 sessions, my mother's shaking stopped and all her pain went away. And within 5 sessions or 8 sessions, I was able to give her back her car keys. And she could walk up and down stairs. She could sleep, because Parkinson people, sleep is a freaking big deal. And even when they're sleeping, they're tremoring a little bit so they don't fully enter into deep levels of sleep. And over the course of the next 5 years, we determined that whenever my mom was in my tank, 1 time a week, because I had to drive an hour, pick her up, drive an hour back, do the session, it took me, I was 7 hours a day, 4 days a week for my mom, 5 days a week for my mom. And it was a labor of love. I don't regret any bit of it. And as long as she was in once a week, we slowed her progression, slowed it way better than any medication. And if she was in twice a week, she did not get worse at all, because she was rapidly declining. And then when we got her 3 times a week, she would start to back all her symptoms up. And when she was doing 5 times a week, we pretty much normalized her. So the only people who could tell she had Parkinson's, her doctor only knew because she was diagnosed. Her doctor is a great guy named Dr. Jesper Brickley. He actually told me directly, he goes, "You are the #1 palliative care for Parkinson's in the United States." And that's what he told me. And I said, well, what do you mean palliative care? I'm not a medical guy. I'm just a health and wellness guy. And so he came and got in my tank. It was like, wow, this is amazing. I know it works because I diagnosed your mom and I followed her progress. I've compared her to other Parkinson's and MS people, and she is #1. So, then I just started, I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. I just started putting my friends in the tank who were sick just to see what would happen. And when you obey all the scuba rules, there's some great, the dive tables are amazing because they tell you what's safe, because nitrogen is an issue. The hospitals use a system that is called hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We do not do that. Hospitals use oxygen as an intervention, as a drug. And I'm just not into drugs, just saying. Whatever is natural, and you do. So scuba divers never dive with pure oxygen because you won't come back up.
Yeah, let's explain that a little bit deeper for the audience. What does it mean what is the difference between what they're doing in the medical space with the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, where they're using oxygen as a drug, versus what you're doing at Hyperbaric Fitness?
So back in the 50s was when pretty much the hospital system switched to using pure oxygen. And Jacques Cousteau, as a diver, one time when he was about 30, I think he was 37, decided to see if he could stay down longer. So he dove to 40 feet with a hospital oxygen tank. He was off the coast of France, and within 20 minutes, he had a neurological event where he shook, he spasmed, and he was still. And fortunately, his cohort, who actually was the guy who invented part of the rebreather and the fins that Cousteau got credit for, he was looking at Cousteau with a bottle, with like a pickle bottle, and he could see that he could see where he was at from the boat. He dove in, swam down 40 feet, pulled him up this was before CPR. They worked on him, and they said at the end, they revived him, or there would be no scuba diving. They revived him. It almost all ended right there. And they said, well, he's sensitive to oxygen. Well, here's the truth. Every human being is sensitive to oxygen. Oxygen exists in nature we are 19 to 20% oxygen in the world, right? So when you triple that, or you go pure oxygen, 96% is considered pure. Oxygen goes after your eyes. It slightly concusses your brain. Oxygen bores through steel. When we drink oxygen through water, H2O, nature surrounded it. I would say the God of nature surrounded that oxygen molecule with hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, right? I love chemistry. I love biology, so that it won't destroy our system going through. Oxygen is, oxidative stress, oxidization is corrosive. So why why the medical guys do oxygen, I've never had one person fully explain it to me. And I talk to hyperbaric doctors all the time. I actually consult for some of them.
And so what's the difference? So basically in these systems, they're pumping oxygen into the system.
Yep. And so in a hospital, you get into usually a small chamber, a little 1 person or 2 people. They do have some that are larger, but those are all going away because they got, 8 and 10 people chambers, but insurance doesn't pay for it. So that's a whole other conversation. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy doctors, I think, are the most important people in the medical system beyond the diagnostician, which we have terrible diagnosticians in the United States. That's, diagnosis is a freaking big deal.
Yeah.
Right. And we need better ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why AI is kicking in. Unfortunately, it's better right now. Right. So beyond that, I had a Russian trained doctor tell me, who worked at the Moscow Hyperbaric Center. She said, if everybody walked into a hospital and the first thing they did was 30 HBOT sessions, she said 3/4 of what you do in America, you would not need.
Right.
I said, well, that's a big statement. She goes, hey, I was trained in Moscow. We've been doing this since 1974. So other countries are just way ahead of us, but they also do hyperbaric oxygen therapy.
Are they healthier than us? Like in Russia, like in Moscow? Are they healthier than us as a nation?
I've never been there. I try to be everywhere I talk about. One of my kids went there.
Yes.
Did both of them go, Martha, or was it just Sarah? I think it was Sarah. My daughter Sarah went, and the people are very healthy. They're thin. They walk everywhere. They eat better. They don't allow toxins in their food. I'm going to say they're healthier.
Yeah. America's not a very healthy place for the amount of money that we spend on healthcare. And the what we see in disease progression and length of life is, compared to other developed first world nations, we are like bottom 75%.
Yeah, I think in Russia, if you get rid of the alcoholism, if you get rid of the alcoholism, they are absolutely physically better specimens than we are. No question.
They love their vodka.
Yep.
Yeah. It's hard. The vodka. They definitely. It's a. So, now, the difference in what you're doing at Hyperbaric Fitness is that you're not introducing any oxygen into the chamber.
Any extra? We are introducing 2 or up to 3 times. So right now we're at 2 times more atmosphere. And what that does is, so you're getting more oxygen. You're getting 200% more oxygen at pressure. And what happens is it goes into solution, and normally your blood plasma does not carry oxygen itself. But when you shrink the oxygen molecule down under pressure, it slides through your bones, goes into your joints and ligaments, and it repairs. It does what it does, and it rejuvenates and repairs. And we'll talk about it as we go, but we've seen absolute miracles in our tank, to the point where you know, if I fully told you all the stories I have over the last almost 15 years now, people are going to think I'm a charlatan. But we've had crazy things happen because the human body wants to heal. And if you help it heal, you don't have to intervene beyond telling the body to heal.
If you put if you create the conditions, then the body is going to, the body that made, the power that made the body can heal the body.
100%.
Yeah, and you just got to create the right conditions. And so sometimes that might look like providing the right inert gases. And
gases, frequency, get rid of the stress in your body.
Yes.
All kinds of other things besides a pill or a needle or an operation, right?
Yes, very much so. Now, this is so at the forefront of, of what people are doing in, longevity, health, and wellness. And so there must have been some pushback, some serious pushback from like the regulatory and from the just in the perception of folks when you were starting to do this. Like when you're like, hey, I got this thing that it's healing my mom in my because it was in your garage, correct? You built this thing in your garage.
Yeah. So I've had 2 major opposition issues. I've had a bunch of small ones. I've had doctors call me a quack and, all that stuff. They've all eaten their words because some medical studies finally came out that said hyperbaric atmosphere mobilizes stem cells in humans. Because I've been saying for more than 10 years that hyperbarics, even the oxygen hyperbarics, is about stem cell. It's not about oxygen. Not just about oxygen. It's about stem cell and all the other elements. And I got so much pushback on that until in 2023, June, Frontiers in Neurology, one of the greatest medical publications in the world, most read, the study came out and it said hyperbaric atmosphere, which is what I do, not what the hospitals do, mobilizes stem cells, which means it takes your inactive stem cells that are waiting in your back fat, your bone marrow, mating primarily in your femurs. It activates it and releases it to go hunt down whatever is wrong. And they're the stem cells in the study. And I actually met with one of the Harvard doctors who discovered stem cells in 1978, an older gentleman. He spent 4 hours with me. Explained to me how it all works, and I can't even repeat it all because he was so deep in his science, and I'm just Joe average guy trying to save his mom. But how we activate the dormant stem cells, they're not marked, meaning if you poke in your eye goes, oh my God, and it releases a certain amount of stem cells. Pick any area from your back fat, they rotate around your body in your bloodstream for 20 hours, and then your body flushes them. But those stem cells have 20 hours to find that point of injury and try to correct it, right? That's his take on it. And he goes, what you're doing is you're activating a whole bunch of stem cells with no call for it. So this is what he said, whatever they find that's not on your genetic blueprint, they're going to try to fix. And then he explained it to me, and he said, when you go to a hospital, he goes, you're going to go for your, say, tennis elbow, or you want to, what they do for hyperbaric oxygen therapy is they do primarily wound closure. And according to him, he goes, they don't translate that to say, well, if it closes wounds, what else does it do? Like, that's what I automatically go to. But doctors are trained, they're trained. They're not always doctors. They're providers. They provide an intervention for a particular set of causality. They don't see the big picture.
Right. Yeah. This is wound closure. I know it works for wound closure, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, or, hyperbaric fitness, hyperbaric atmospheric, so the difference between, you call it, there's hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is what the hospitals do, where they're introducing.
And it's a great modality, by the way. I am into it. I just don't do it.
You just don't do it. Right. And there's a little bit more danger around it. You can't do it. It's a little bit more costly to run that type of operation. It's a little bit more dangerous because you are introducing oxygen. So there can be some risk with that, more risk than, and you call yours hyperbaric atmosphere.
Yeah, hyperbaric atmosphere.
Okay, hyperbaric atmosphere. I just want to make sure that people know the difference between those two. And now, some of the research that I've done on you were talking earlier about the when oxygen goes into solution, and the concentration is mind blowing to me, because it goes from a level where it's like 0.6 millimoles per 100 mLs all the way to 6 millimoles per 100 mLs. That's 0.6 to 6. That is such a massive jump in concentration. And then what that does is that allows it to push deeper into the cells.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything. So here's the other thing is that And I discovered this, and I cannot tell you how many names I got called. I've done conference calls with people in the medical community. One time I had a conference call with more than a dozen top people, and a couple of them were some of the people in the AMA. And what I told them, I said, well, look, you're looking at oxygen as the primary healing mechanism, but atmosphere has krypton, argon, neon, all these other gases, helium. And I said, our understanding of that is so limited because everything's been focused on oxygen. We didn't discover oxygen until the late 1800s, and then all of a sudden it was all about that. Well, I said to him, what does nitrogen do to virus? Because everything that's living respirates. Every living organism respirates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nitrogen, we know if human beings do it wrong, we get the bends and we die, or we have, spinal injury or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad. But what does nitrogen do to virus? What does neon do for the brain? Crickets. No training, nothing. I said, well, let me help you. Neon is, what does neon gas do in science? It pushes energy and regulates electricity. And I said, your brain, you are electrochemical. Neon is involved in electrical chemical regulation. And, you talk to chemists, talk to, biologists, and they're like, oh, of course. Talk to practicing doctors. Well, I heard something about that back in the day.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. That's what you do. So, what I do, it involves all of what nature supplies. We just give you 2 and 3 times, and we give it to you in solution. And so physiologically what happens when you scuba dive, and we got the studies, go to our website, hyperbaricfitness.com, and go to research and just read the studies. First of all, as soon as you start diving, your mitochondria speed up. Mitochondria have receptors for everything in the atmosphere. If mitochondria have a receptor for it, that means it's bioavailable or at least bioactive. It's one of the two. So we need everything in the atmosphere. You can't take one element from the periodic table out. The entire freaking universe would collapse. And I think other people agree with me, there's some more elements for that periodic table we haven't discovered or exist for such short amount of time, very small microseconds. But everything that is in the universe belongs there and has a purpose. And so just fully concentrating yourself into one, it's just like, water, you drink it or you can drown in it, but it has a purpose. And so I'm kind of rambling right now.
Well, no, I think you're going in a good direction. It's basically with the inert gases, neon, nitrogen, argon, and then you have oxygen as well. And so these gases have a lot of benefit. And like with some of the other modalities, they're not increasing any of that stuff because they're just putting in oxygen.
Right. So funny story is I was on a conference call with a handful of medical professionals, and they called me because they were trying to fix a guy that a hospital had made a mistake. And I get a lot of people who the hospitals make a mistake. They made a mistake on this guy, and they were trying to avoid like a $200 million lawsuit. And as I was talking to them, and they called me in just as a consultant, I made the mistake of saying, well, the reason that I'm recommending atmospheric instead of oxygen hyperbarics is the guy's already having problems with his eyes, and oxygen goes after your eyes. And I said, really, what you're looking for is we want to increase argon. The guy goes, what the heck do we want to increase argon for? I said, well, I think argon is one of the elements in the gas. When you increase it, it's what stimulates stem cells. And he goes, hey, that's Nobel Prize stuff. There's no way a guy like you in his garage figured that out. He started making fun of me. He said, you're pulling that out of your something. And I was like, well, thanks for the vote of confidence. And then 6 years later, London School of Medicine published and said, hey, increasing argon generates a higher level of certain kinds of stem cells in a test tube. It just increases stem cells, and it's argon. So I nailed it, right? And so I wasn't bigger than them. I sent the article and I sent it to everybody. And I said, told you so. I should have been bigger.
Well, you want to know what? Maybe there was hopefully there was learning in that. Hopefully they learned in that. Hopefully, that is one problem. Like being a person who went through medical training in this country, that it makes it so this is the way that we do things. This is the dogma, and this is how you have to learn. And some of that stuff is great. It's like some of these processes are like necessary for us to do medicine, I think. But a lot of them they just get in the way of, you take these really brilliant, beautiful thinkers and people who do want to help and create new stuff, and you put them into a box. You put them into a silo, so they're then not able to use, they're more regurgitating and, not getting to use their high-level medicine. And that's like the basis of care that I see most people get. Sometimes when you go to some of these teaching hospitals, and it's funny because it can be both. I spent some time at teaching hospitals where it's like they are willing. You have some providers, some doctors who are willing to throw everything against the wall, and they're willing to talk about it.
Save that patient.
They're trying to save the patient
first.
Patient first.
Amen.
Yeah, and you have some of those folks, and then you have some people that are just, it's never even been brought up before, in this hospital, whether there's a study from Moscow or from China, it's never been brought up in this hospital before and in this medical system, so we're not going to chat about it. We're not going to talk about it. And so I just there'd be great if more of that stuff could filter in. And I think that guys like you, and hopefully guys like me, are trying to change that paradigm where we can understand that hey, Western medicine can be really brilliant and great, and we have created some systems.
We need classically trained doctors.
Oh,
we need them. They're not our enemy. The system they serve is our enemy.
Yeah, it's all the system based, and the system is created this way. I used to say that it was done like we've lost track of the system. And it's like, I think that there's forces that benefit. They benefit from the confusion, and they benefit from the mishealing that can take place. And if you could tell somebody like, hey, you don't need this drug intervention, you just need this, you can go and do 30 sessions at a Hyperbaric Fitness, that's going to be very threatening to the current system that's in place.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had people who come to me over the last 15 years who are scheduled for amputation of their feet, knees down. Scheduled. Like, okay, in 3 months, first we're going to take off 2 of your toes, and a month later we're going to do this, and then we're going to take, and they had scheduled out like three different operations on the same limb, knowing that within 3 months, and that's a whole nother conversation. Why do they do that? Well, I can give you $118,000 per time why they do that. Not everybody does that, but some hospitals do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's with intention.
Yeah, not even the provider's intention though. It's not even like it's just what they're taught. Exactly.
Right,
like this is what we do. Like when we have this patient come in, these are the treatments that are available to them. Are if it gets this bad, we amputate, and that is the only solution.
Right.
So it's not even it's not their fault. They're just caught up in this system that tells them that this is the only answer, and then they have to believe it because their job depends on it. If they start to ruffle feathers in that place and start to push back quite a bit, like you can push back a little bit, and if you're really intelligent, people will respect that a little bit. But even the really intelligent people, if you push back enough, they're going to say, "What are you talking about? You are a quack. You are not following medicine anymore."
One of those.
You're one of those. Yep.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's like people, as soon as they find I'm a pastor or I don't have a medical degree or this, all of a sudden they classify me as something else,
Yep.
But not everybody.
But the proof's in the pudding, right? The proof's in the pudding. Can you tell me about what, there's 2009 when your mom, when you first started treating your mom and you created this thing in your basement. I'd like you to tell us how your mom is doing today and tell us about some of those patients that you've healed from the neuropathy that were due for amputation.
So my mother we bought her almost 15 years, 14 plus years. She went 8 years without any medication. She still had the prescription. She just didn't take it because you get into refusal of practice. There's a lot of, how that works. I don't need to explain that to you. So, but she just didn't take her medication. If she had a really bad day, she would literally take one of her carbidopa pills and bite a quarter of it off and be better for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so today she is, because of COVID, she's in a nursing home. And it's getting time for her to graduate. And but we bought her from the age of 65 to 80. She's now going to be 80, 81, 82. We bought her that much living. So we gave her and it was good years. I mean, good years. She got to know her grandkids. She wouldn't have. She got to, She actually spent another 7 years teaching Sunday school, which is her love.
Dude, fully symptomatic.
Little kids, a teacher. Just loves little kids. So she regained. We gave her 7.5 years of pretty much symptom free as long as she was with me. And then she made the decision not to come because it was a long ways. And we remodeled our house to move in with us, and she'd be there every day. And at the end, she says, "No, I need to take care of my sister, and I thank you for that, but I don't want to be a burden on you." And you got to respect your parents, even if they're making decisions that you don't like. So she ended up getting sick because I wasn't there to take care of her, and that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
And so she ended up in a nursing home for rehab, and then COVID locked her down, made her ward of the state. I had no say over what they did, because our system takes away your ability to make decisions if you're in a nursing home. It's no longer that you or the family. That's just true. And that was hard. I got threatened with arrest. I got told if I come and see her, and all that stuff during COVID. We don't need to go into that, but anyway, she's very grateful. She's still with it enough on her good days to actually this week I'm scheduling her to pick her up and take her on a hyperbaric dive again.
Nice.
But yeah, so with the neuropathy, that was really crazy fun, because the first person I helped was actually, I don't have permission to say who it was, but it was at one point a nationally known athlete, and they had been part of Olympics and were considered for other sports. And then after a few years, they developed type 1 diabetes, and instantly their life changed, and they were no longer an athlete. So they went into a medical. They were trained in a medical field. I just got to be careful.
Yes.
Say this.
Yes, sir.
We all know how important strength training is for long-term health, but it can be hard to know where to start. I was in the same spot a year ago. You want to make sure you're doing exercises right, avoiding injury, and getting results. But it's easy to feel lost without a plan. That's when I found On Target Fitness. At On Target, you get a custom strength program, personalized attention in a small group setting, and the nutrition coaching you need for real lasting change. In the year I've been working out there, I've gotten stronger, more mobile, and more confident. My form has improved, and even something as simple as walking feels better. The group energy keeps me motivated, and every workout is fun. On Target just opened a new location in Kingston. Now you've got even more options to experience their amazing approach. If you're ready for lasting change, head to www.ontargetfit.com and schedule your session today.
So what ended up happening was, we knew we had somebody in common. They came to my house, tried my tank. It was back when we called it the Yellow Submarine. It was not as big as the one we have now, but it was still big. Took up my whole garage.
Was it yellow?
It was yellow. I
Hell
picked
yeah.
it yellow because I had to, I was going to do the Beatles, the Yellow Submarine, because I'm an older guy. And so we ended up, we got her in, and she called me the next morning and said, "I just want to thank you for that experience. I am never coming back." And I said, "Oh, why is that?" She goes, "Because, I can't feel my feet from my knees down." I said, "Yeah, we've talked about that." And they were brown, blackish. I mean, they were ready to come off. I mean, that's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens.
They were all discolored. And she goes, "Last night around 2 a.m, my big toe started throbbing, and the pain was unimaginable. My pain level is it's at an 8 right now as I'm talking." And I said, "Awesome." She goes, "What do you mean awesome?" I said, "Say it to me again." She goes, "Last night my toe started hurting at 2 a.m. I said, "Say it again." And she went, "Oh my God, I can feel my toe." Like, she couldn't process it. So that person, all of a sudden, within about 18 to 20 sessions, felt all their toes and feet. They went from not feeling anything. They had to get the process of, now my feet hurt me. They feel like they're on fire. Because, when your nerves are coming back, it's going to hurt, right? That's all. Healing is painful sometimes, right? So anyway, so that's what we did for that person. And then we started having that happen to lots of people. The word got around, so they started coming for that. And we started having people coming for Parkinson's. Parkinson's is difficult because there's different causes for Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a symptomatic disease, meaning they go, well, when you have Parkinson's, we're not sure whether you have ALS, MS, Parkinson's, tremor, essential tremor, non-essential tremor. They kind of lump it all together, and they figure out by outcome and by testing, not definitive testing, what you have. And if carbidopa works or giving dopamine works, you have Parkinson's, right? That was my mom's situation. Well, I talked to a neurologist about that, and I'm like, okay, so what form of Parkinson's? They go, what do you mean, what form? I said, okay, let's walk it through. Muhammad Ali, concussion-based, over and over and over. And they go, oh yeah. I said, Vietnam vets. Well, it can be concussion-based, but if they're not in combat, what is it? Agent Orange, paraquat, right? There's a big lawsuit thing with paraquat and Parkinson's. So you've got epigenetical issues, and I think Parkinson's is always epigenetic. I don't think it's genetic. Some people will say, oh, it's genetic, you're predisposed. Well, even if you're predisposed, there's a trigger. There's something that, because you weren't born with it, you didn't come out doing this, right? Something occurred over time. There was something degraded. And I think with some Swiss doctors, I think Parkinson's begins in the gut. I think it's a gut affective. There is the concussion-based stuff that cowboys, rodeo people, football players, I think there is that. But there's different causalities, and that's not my field. I am not an expert. I am literally throwing darts in a dark room. So I try not to say, "Oh, you have it." I don't do any diagnosis. What I do is I say, "Hey, you got some symptoms. I don't know. Why don't you get in my tank and let's see what happens?
See if symptom improvement can happen."
Right, and that's it. And then I don't make claims. Like, I do not claim to cure or heal Parkinson's. I do make the claim that most likely we can reduce all your symptoms. Which really, what does modern medicine do?
And that's, modern medicine
It's all about
treating
symptom reduction.
Right.
It's not about curing.
Yeah, it's treating symptoms.
Right. So I don't do modern medicine. I just say, well, whatever you got, I don't know, get in the tank. And so, however, after 15 years and 60,000 dives, I pretty much have got a lot of empirical understanding. If science and the scientific method is the observation and recording of observable, repeatable phenomena, I have that. That's what I do. My lab is my tank, and I say, oh, you have dyskinesia, or you have essential tremor. You've been diagnosed with let's see what happens. And after 10 people with essential, non-essential tremor stop shaking for days and weeks, all right, I think I can say, well, I think we should probably be able to help you feel a little better, And so that's when, I'm industry disruptive. That's when guys like me get targeted. And, and I'm going to tell you, I've been targeted. So,
what made you? Yeah, I want to talk about the targeting, but before we get there, I want to talk about how you went from the guy who was just doing this in your basement, right, doing this in your garage, and then you opened up your first location in Swansea.
Yeah.
How did you take that? Is it because you were healing, because you were helping people with symptom reduction, and you were seeing all the benefits of this? You kind of, you were called from God. You had no choice. Like, this is what I need to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely. So we had I think the first real time where I knew I had to go commercial was when, we had a type 1 diabetic mother who, devout Catholic, found out she was a type 1 during gestation. The baby was maybe 3 months along, and she went type 1 gestational, and they told her, well, you have to abort the child because either that or you're going to die or go blind because you are bad. We can't save you and the baby, right? And so she, as a devout Catholic, she was like, well, I'm not going to do that. My choice, my life, my body, my choice. And she had the baby, and she went blind. She went blind at 5 months. And her retinas started fragmenting. She had fragmented retinas, and she'd never seen it. So she was in the dark. Her vision was 2600, legally blind. And I want to get into the story. It's a great story but it'll take an hour. So she drives up from a long ways away, many states over, and gets in my tank. And I was there when she saw her baby for the first time. And when you do that, it's all you want to do. So anyway, when that happened, I was like, oh my God, we should be on the nightly news. But, we've done things like that a lot, and you're never going to be on the nightly news. You just got to get used to, you're just not gonna, it's just not going to happen. But that person went from 2,600, Martha, what was it, 2,600 to 2,200. Yeah. My wife's here. She's my conscience. She will correct me if I'm saying anything wrong.
We are glad to have her here. 100%. Welcome, Martha. We love having you here, supporting Joe. This is amazing.
Yeah, but what's funny with her is it was quick, and I don't know if it's because we got rid of inflammation. I don't know if it's the stem cells working so quickly, because they did, but within one session, she could identify your vision changed in 1 hour, and that had to be inflammation based. That had to be some inflammation associated with something. Because if it's a quick change, it's inflammation. If it's a long-term lasting change, that's the stem cells and the mitochondria. We haven't even talked about what happens though, but
yeah.
So then it was so funny because she was like, hey, is this thing on my jacket blue and that's black? Yes. Hey, is that a picture on the wall? Yes. Is there a canoe and a cabin? Is there a lake? I was like, oh my gosh. Yes. She was like, that was like the third session. She goes, is it supposed to be that fast? I said, I have no idea, lady. We're just taking you diving and we're going to see what happens. So, diving in a dry tank, that's all we were doing.
What atmosphere did you guys go down to?
That's when we were doing 3 atmospheres. We were doing, 2.75. There's a sweet spot for certain things, and it's 2.75 atmospheres. Right now, we are limited to 2 atmospheres. What we've invested, I'm going to say hundreds of thousands of dollars, and both my locations will very shortly have a 200-foot capable tank. We'll never do 200 feet because that's more than advanced diving. We don't do that. But with my staff and my team, I have people at the master level, diving. A lot of us, like all my staff is licensed divers. So we've gone, we've gone much deeper. That's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. So I know what some deeper depths do for certain things, and empirically, I know what happens. So that's going to be exciting. But right now we're doing 2 atmosphere dives.
And there's a ton of benefit that comes at 2 atmosphere. We can treat some stuff like this, and then there's some other stuff that's maybe a little
we don't refractory. We don't.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Simply let you experience diving and have the appropriate physiological changes. Yeah. And so when we switched from 2.75 to 2, what we did is we extended the dive by another 20 minutes. So now you have longer to uninflame, to spur your mitochondria. We should probably say what happens physiologically.
But that was going to be the next question: is what is happening physiologically, in the body when you go in for one of these dives?
If you're a scuba diver, again, I'm just keeping it to diving science because that's what we do. When your fins hit the water, you start your clock, right? Because you don't want to have too much nitrogen buildup. You got to worry about the bends. And as soon as your feet hit the water, and you start your clock, as you descend, your body gets rid of excess inflammation. We uninflame you. We get rid of edema. It automatically happens when let's say you're diving to 40 feet. Recreational people's thing are typically 25 to 35 feet. That's where you see the most things anyway. It's where the most fish are, right? Let's say you do a 2 atmosphere dive. You go to 33 feet. Your body instantly, you got to pee. I don't care whether you've had coffee or drunken anything in 3 days. When you get to 33 feet, you fill up your wetsuit. Have you ever been diving?
Haven't been diving.
Okay. Well, all you divers out there, you know what I'm talking about. And when I was licensed in the 80s, they said, well, it's probably because of the shock, the temperature, you're nervous, the this, the that. No, none of that's true. When you dive, the pressure involved creates a physiological change, and you have to urinate. Where does that come from? It's getting rid of the interstitial excess fluid. Most Americans aren't just fat, they're full of inflammation. Mm-hmm. Why are they full of inflammation? Because they've got toxic crap in their body. They have nanoparticulate aluminum in their brain. Hello. They have, just saying it, by vaccination.
Yep.
They have plastics. They've got all this crap that's been the pills, the food, the glyphosate. We are full of inflammation. So when you're diving, guess what happens? You got to pee like a racehorse. So, and I tell everybody, I actually use that phrase, listen, after the dive, most likely when you get out of our tank, you're going to have to go pee like a racehorse in the other room because scuba divers just leave it all in the water, right?
I've definitely noticed that.
Yep.
Definitely noticed that. When I've done the dives with you.
Yeah, so what's happening? You are detoxing, you're getting rid of inflammation. So the first thing that happens, inflammation. Second thing that happens is there is measured mitochondrial response. It goes, your mitochondria work faster. Mitochondria respond well under pressure. So, so your mitochondria boosts. Well, if you're not, your mitochondria determine whether you live or die, right? You shut the mitochondria off, you are dead. You help that mitochondria. All right, now everything in the natural world is, how do we boost mitochondria health? Well, you eat right, you sleep right, you get rid of stress, all the factors that affect your mitochondria. And the quickest cheat, you want to boost your mitochondria, you freaking get in my tank. Because mitochondria speed up. When we have the studies, it's on our website, you look at it. You get mitochondria response. So first you uninflame, you get mitochondria response, then you get a stem cell dump. Your stem cells go and stem cells heal. It is that simple. All that that happens is never with pure oxygen. So here's the trick that the hospital guys don't think about. And I've had these talks with hyperbaric doctors and they're like, oh my God, why didn't we put two and two together? So what they do in their chambers is they take you down on atmosphere, what we do, and then they boost you for a certain amount of time with pure oxygen, right? And then they bring you up on the pure oxygen so you don't have to decompress. So there's no nitrogen issues. So a hospital system with nitrogen is safer, but it's not. It's actually more dangerous because they use pure oxygen, which is an accelerant, flammable. You can get oxygen toxicity. There's a lot of reasons why only doctors should be doing that. And I am not a doctor, so I do not do pure oxygen, right? But I tell them, look, a lot of the benefit you're registering as oxygen therapy has nothing to do with oxygen. It's the atmospheric gases you're using. And the only way to check that is to get a pure oxygen environment and just do pure oxygen. And you know what they tell me? Hey, if we did 2 hours at, 50 feet with pure oxygen, we're going to kill that guy. I said, thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Exactly.
And I can do 2 hours at 100 feet. And as long as we do a 6-hour decompression, right, we can do that. And the person will be better off, not worse off.
Mm-hmm.
So atmosphere gases are phenomenal. You just got to pay attention to nitrogen, which is why I hire certified divers. That's why we actually add safety to the dive table. So anyway, physiologically, we get rid of all your inflammation. That is only good. Inflammation ages you. It's what causes pain on the end of your nerves. We maximize your mitochondria, and we give you stem cells. We could talk about hormonal responses, but that's more science. That's more medical stuff. However, we know. So we help balance you out hormonally. That happens.
Men and women?
Yeah. I can tell you about the man part because I've experienced it, but I can't talk about women because I'm not one.
Okay.
And my wife's right there. That's all I'm saying about that.
Okay. Giddy up. What with the no, I just think the stem cell thing, just because I want people to truly understand this and get that from this is not something that is a guess or something that we are making conjecture on. We literally know this, that when you put somebody into a hyperbaric tank like Joe's, there will be a massive increase in stem cell production.
Absolutely.
And it will go, and we know that with stem cells, like you were saying earlier, they will literally go and travel to parts of the body and find where there needs to be, you called it a blueprint. I think that's a really good
genetic blueprint.
Yeah, the genetic blueprint. It will go to where your body knows there needs some type of healing to take place. It might be in your knee, it might be in your eye, it might be in your shoulder, it could be in your pancreas. It could be inner organs, outer organs, skin, and it will go there, and it will. This is why we with the way that we do stem cells and the way that we do PRP is that we inject it right locally into the site, and now that can be helpful because you're taking exogenous stem cell and putting it into which comes from you endogenously, but you're putting it into the right space. Now, what's really cool about this is the power that made the body can heal the body.
Right.
And so you don't even need to go through this invasive procedure. That might juice you up a little bit quicker, maybe. I haven't seen a like one-to-one comparison on that, but it's invasive. It's massively expensive. And so if you can tell somebody like, hey, you could come in and have 10 to 20 sessions, and you're going to get the same type of benefit that you would from a stem cell injection that you can't even do in this country, that you need to go somewhere else to do because we don't regulate it here. I just wanted to say that because like some people say a lot of stuff, but that is like everything that you're saying today is backed in a medical study. And so I know you're not a medical guy, but
No.
what you're saying is backed in medical studies.
Right. So what me and my staff do is we read anything to do with medical understandings of any disease. We read anything to do with the chemistry, physiology, physics. We look at everything, whereas our education system has so specialized that everyone else just looks at their little component without it being connected to everything else. If you look at our library in Swansea, we're just filling it out in Hooksett, but our library in Swansea has everything from hyperbaric medicine to diving science to NASA, because that's a pressure vessel, to studies on how even when you're born when a baby's forming in a uterus, that uterus is a pressure vessel. It's at a slightly higher pressure vessel while babies are forming by stem cell, and stem cells respond really great in pressure environments. That's why people think hyperbaric oxygen therapy is what causes wound closure. Okay, it's the pressure that causes the wound closure because it generates stem cell. The pressure itself generates stem cell.
It has nothing to do with the oxygen.
Oxygen helps, but I'm telling you, we had a lady come from Kentucky who had a non-closing wound. She had been 80 sessions in a hyperbaric oxygen therapy chamber, and her foot was still coming off. They could not close that diabetic ulcer.
Mm-hmm.
She came to me. We did 30 sessions, and something triggered, and within 2 weeks, that wound was closed. And when I say wound, it was big. I mean, you could see her bone.
Mm-hmm.
You can see her bone.
Yep.
And it's smelled terrible.
Yeah.
It was what it was. And she came up. She literally spent 30 sessions for me was just under $2,000, and I can't tell you how much she spent. And the other ones, she was spending $600 or $800 per session, 80 times in a hospital affiliated clinic, and it didn't help. They said, "Lady, we're going to take your ankle."
And you closed it.
Absolutely, it closed. But we can't. And that was a direct comparison of HBOT to hyperbaric atmosphere. Now, the issue is they did their HBOT at 1.3. So they added 1/3 of an atmosphere and gave it pure oxygen. At that time, we were a little deeper, but even today, we're three times deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
So we pressurize you 3 times more than the average hyperbaric session, because anybody can scuba dive. Scuba diving is, we know what happens. It's not a medical intervention.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just imitate that, and her ankle closed right up, and she sent me pictures and all that. We had for a time I was affiliated with another group down south that I was working with, and they had a football player come in, and he collapsed on the field, and it turned out he had a major infection on his ankle, and he was like one of the top state football people, and the doctors got the parents together and said, "I think we're going to take his foot off because he had some kind of infection and it went too long, and he had gangrene."
Yeah,
in his
encephalitis.
Yeah, he had gangrene in his joint, and it shut off the nerves, and that's why he tripped. And they said, "We can't save that foot." Well, they got into our tank down south, and that kid's playing football today. So the medical solution was to take his foot off. So that was atmosphere. That wasn't hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So that was a hyperbaric doctor, or there's a hyperbaric doctor associated with that group who used my protocol. So yeah,
That's pretty amazing. What now? what are you like? Because you had you had the commercial, giddy up because that lady came and you were able to get her to be able to see and be able to see her child, and you said, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna go commercial with this in Swansea, and obviously that went swimmingly, and you've been able to help a lot of people in Swansea, but now you've opened up a second location in Hooksett.
Yeah. So right after her, one of my lifelong closest friends, who was a very, very large guy, said, "Hey, I'm a diabetic and I got a bad heart and all these things. Would that help me?" I said, "I have no idea. Why don't you just get it?" This is the early days. I said, "I don't know. Let's just go diving." And everybody asks, "Do I got to take off my clothes, bathing suit?" I said, so I tell my friends, "Yeah, just take off your clothes, leave them in the corner." I just, laughing.
Yeah.
But we got him in. We're gonna call him Big John. That's not his name. We're gonna call him Big John.
Yep.
And Big John got in, and he gets out of my tank. He sits down. He goes, "I feel okay, but not completely okay." I'm like, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Oh my God." Now, he was a diabetic that if he missed, he had to take a needle and stick it in his stomach within an hour or two. He was such a diabetic that he would die within an hour or two if he missed a shot. So he was very, very insulin dependent. So he stuck himself. He goes, "Oh, I feel better." He gets in his car. He drives 2 miles and he crashes into a tree from my house. And they take him to a well-known hospital in my area. And they keep him there 2 weeks. And he and I are thinking, "Oh my God, what did I do to him in the tank?" Well, what we did is we restarted his pancreas. So he had an insulin reaction because he can't have insulin anymore. His pancreas restarted in one session.
Oh.
And so when he gave himself a major shot,
He went hypoglycemic. Sugar dropped like crazy.
And his pancreas had restarted. And from that day to 4 years later, when he passed away from a different heart condition, he never needed diabetic intervention.
Dude,
and he was twice a day with that twice every, honestly, I can't remember how many times, but he kept his needles with him and he was always doing that to his stomach.
That's one thing, is it's so interesting, right? Because there's, you have some people who can come in and they get this amazing benefit from one session. And then there's other people who might need to come in 20, 30, 40, 50 times to see, to see some benefits. And you'd think that like something like type 1 diabetes, in this case, type 2, maybe insulin-dependent diabetes.
Insulin-dependent, whatever it was.
Whatever it was, insulin-dependent diabetes, you would think that it would take more than one session. Yeah.
So, and I always don't like to talk about the one-offs because then people have that expectation, and I'd rather, under promise, over deliver.
Yeah.
But we do have the one-time miracles where people walk in and feel completely different when they come out. And whenever that is, I know that's an inflammation issue. It's just too quick for stem cells. Even when the mitochondria restart, there has to be some time, or the mitochondria boost, there has to be a certain amount of time for the stem cells to plug in and the systems to change,
Mm-hmm.
We have one guy right now for neuropathy that he's the toughest guy. Neuropathy usually responds really, really quick. Within the first 10 sessions, you're like, "Oh, my feet don't hurt anymore," or "I can feel them," or whatever. We have one guy, he's one of our divers, Len, who it's just like climbing Mount Everest, 1 inch at a time.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's slightly better, but that for me, that's not good enough. It's just not good enough. I want to see it happen faster. So, then we investigate, okay, what's your circulation like? Are you on cool cayenne pepper, which, gives perfect viscosity and helps your blood supply? Are you taking serrapeptase, which Roto-Rooters gets rid of all the cholesterol in your bloodstream? Instead of having bypass surgery, right? You do what China does and what other countries do. And anyway, that's a whole other conversation, isn't it? But
well, I think it is, but that it's also just good to say how it's like with, at least for people who are listening to this show, like sometimes you're going to go in and you might get one of these miracles. You might get some benefit right off. Like I think anybody who goes in there, somebody who's, done numerous dives with you already, you're going to get benefit. You're going to feel better in your body afterwards. Whether that's going to, make it so that you're not having to take medicine, or making it so that you are, you're completely relieved of your pain. that might not be the case. You know, the expectation for everybody is going to be different, I think. But I just knowing going in there myself and bringing other people in there, there's change that's happening, and there's benefit that's definitely being brought forth.
Let me introduce you to Elevate, a premium functional mushroom company focused on supporting your highest potential. They offer a range of powerful supplements crafted from the finest medicinal fungi designed to naturally enhance your well-being. Elevate carries everything from mushroom tinctures, capsules, and teas to their delicious mushroom-infused coffees. All of their products are made with USA-grown mushrooms and contain only wild medicinal mushrooms, no psychoactive compounds. I personally use their focus tincture every day and love their chai tea blend. It's my go-to for a calming yet energizing boost. Elevate's products support mental clarity, immunity, and overall vitality. They ship nationwide, so whether you're new to functional mushrooms or already a fan, Elevate has something for you. Check them out at shopelevatemushrooms.com, where you will find a detailed description of each product and experience the difference for yourself.
Yep.
Now, so what like, you know, so you saw the success in Swansea and you said, hey, I want to just keep bringing this to more places in the state. Is that how the idea of Hooksit became?
Well, so what happens is that throughout the years, every month or two, people walk in and I dramatically affect their life. And some of them are business owners or have money or run companies. And I've been offered, I can't tell you how many partnerships, you know, and initially I was really excited. And after that, to do hyperbarics correctly, it's what you have to do. And it requires a lot of focus. It requires the exact right team. And I developed mine over 10 years. So you can't just go, you know, like a McDonald's franchise, you can't just go plop these things and have everyone do them. There's a lot of process and a lot of costs. And because it's a brand new industry, there's all kinds of regulations that's gray, and you can't afford to have gray regulations in this. And so you have to, like I said, in order for me to continue and go to my next level, I have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we have to do it a certain way. We're dealing with 3 different agencies that communicate horribly to each other and don't even understand what each other does. We have inspectors coming in, looking at it, saying, I've never seen one of these before. Well, how can you be you know what?
How can you regulate this if you've never seen one of these before?
But you know, this paper trail says this, and therefore you have to. I'm like, but that's pure oxygen. Well, yes, it is. However, we're going to use those rules for this. I'm like, well, we don't do oxygen. Why would we do that?
It seems like it's kind of unfair.
You know, honestly, we're making some advances, but we have to do it right. We have to comply with all the regulations, whether they're onerous or not, and that is very expensive. So it's a whole universe. I didn't know I was going to have to be an engineer. I didn't know I was going to have to be boned up on all the medical science. I didn't know I was going to have to be a politician. I didn't know I was going to have to be, I was going to have to be a future predictor, a fortune teller. I mean, you got to be like, there's like 4 or 5 this is accumulation of 4 or 5 industries that are very complicated. And I've had to become, I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I've had to become extremely versed in multiple industries to do this. And I'm a unique person. My wife will tell you that. So,
well, I'm glad that we have you, Joe, because it does take unique people and people who have a level of grit and belief in themselves and what they are doing. And maybe that comes from your relationship with God and just your trust in that, and your relationship with yourself and your family, that you just know, hey, this is what I've seen with and that's what it was for me too, is I've seen this with my own eyes. And I've talked about many people, in my case, talking about going more towards holistic health and understanding that Western medicine is not the be all end all, and that we need some type of change. You need to be unapologetic, and that you need to be really rooted and grounded in that, because everyone is trying to take you off of it. And And so I'm grateful that we have a guy like you who's helping to lead something like this, which can be this massive modality that's giving access to people, giving access to folks that never would have had access to this before. When you talked about this stuff beforehand, it was something that only the 1% of the super elite athletes, or the people who had a ton of money,
Right.
that were we're going to be able to have access to these tanks. And there's an NFL football player named Bill Romanowski, and he used to sleep in a
100%.
in a hyperbaric fitness chamber. And
I got one of his friends that has come to my tank.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
amazing, so amazing. And I just remember hearing about that when I was a kid, and then learning about it, and then not thinking that when I was my age, 34 years old, that I was going to be able to bring myself to this and have this modality. I'm having a child in like 2 weeks, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring mom and baby into that tank with you based on your recommendation, to help with the with the process, the traumatic process that can be birthing a child.
Yeah, my daughter, I don't know if my kids are my grandkids are the youngest, but my daughter at 3 days old brought in her children on the breast, 3 days old, nursing into the tank. And we didn't go super deep or anything, but we definitely did that. And our grandkids my daughter and her husband are very much the natural path way. And so those kids are, maybe I'm prejudiced because they're my grandkids, but holy cow, when we compare them to, you're not supposed to compare, but when you see when they're playing with other kids, either in the park or at church, and you look how they talk, it's like, wow, what's up with these kids? And I think it's a neurological cheat. I do. I really believe it. Yeah,
and what about the benefits for mom, who just birthed the baby and
recover so much quicker after birth? They just recover quick. We have a whole bunch of people who come in after any operation or some kind of physical illness just to recover and get all their energy back and sleep better. And we've had people who get major surgery and they're supposed to have a scar. One woman was told by her really good doctor. I love doctors. I got a lot of doctor friends. I don't want to alienate anybody, but he said, you're going to have a scar that looks like a snake from your ankle all the way to the top of your crotch. Because they had to replace an entire deep vein. And she doesn't have a scar today. And within 11 days, the doctor thought he was looking at the wrong foot, at the wrong leg. He goes, no, the other leg that I operated on, she operated on this one. And she had to pull her skin apart to see the red line. That's how fast she healed. But she was also doing the other stuff. She was eating all natural. She was, it's the whole picture.
It's not a panacea, right? Like, that's one thing that it's important to tell people. It's like, yeah, guess what? This can help you. But if your diet is still trash and you're eating a ton of ultra processed food that isn't from the earth, if you're exposing yourself to harmful light and harmful, other harmful chemicals, like, guess what? You're probably going to have it's probably going to take more. Maybe this would eventually help you, but you're not going to get those juiced up benefits right away.
Yeah, so we have all kinds of post-ops coming into us, and we have some doctors on the QT saying, hey, listen, if you really want to heal quicker, go over here. Right now, you can look at videos from a plastic surgeon in Mexico who, there's a lot of marketing hype, but a friend of mine went down and got some plastic surgery done, and everybody is saying how fast they recover. And I was watching that, and just for fun, what's that place in Venezuela? Not Venezuela, Mexico. Anyway, there's a bunch of videos out and about
Cabo, Cancun, Playa del Carmen.
Anyway, one of those. And I said, as soon as I watched the first video, I went, that guy is using a hyperbaric chamber. I know it. And one of my staff goes, well, how do you know? I said, because no scarring, rapid healing, and they felt amazing. They felt better they felt better when they left than when they went in for the operation. I said, that's mitochondrial response. I said, they are using a hyperbaric chamber. And so I then took, 3 hours and watched a whole bunch of other videos. And finally, the last video, the woman said, look at my before and after picture. She goes, yeah, and I was really surprised. Within 3 hours of my surgery, they put me in this little hyperbaric chamber. I went, bingo, boom, boom. And so like all of Hollywood now isn't doing their operations in Hollywood. They're flying down to Mexico for this guy. It's not because of cost. he's making some coin.
Yeah.
It's because he has better end response. Well, he's just using hyperbaric chamber. That's all he's doing.
People don't have to be as inflamed afterwards, have as much
all inflammation gone. You rapid heal. You don't scar. I mean, we keep you from scarring. That's pretty important, right?
Yeah.
If you're getting facial surgery, the scars are a big deal, right?
Dude, it's a huge deal. If you're getting any surgery, you know, it's like I'm thinking like C-section surgery right now, you know, where you're cutting through 7 layers of your belly, and like, hey, if you cannot do a C-section, you know, push for that and do your best to have a vaginal birth. That is going to be the best for baby and for mom. But it's an amazing thing that we can have C-section births and that we can do that in this day and age and keep baby safe, keep mom safe. And what a nice thing, or what a beautiful thing to be able to offer to a mom, to say like, hey, this is going to help you heal and going to help you reduce scarring and make you feel better in your body and just the inflammation from it. It's like, yeah, the reduced scarring thing is huge. You know,
it is.
Yeah, a young woman goes through that and has a scar on her belly, and she wants to be able to, you know, see her. And you know, I think it's beautiful. I think that it's a beautiful thing. It showed that you went through an experience to have that child, and that's wonderful. But that's maybe not how the woman feels, unless she wants to have some of that removed and to have that treated in a, not treated, sorry, but to have that helped and supported in a natural way. Yeah, is really wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tell you that you're going to guarantee not to scar, but it definitely, in my opinion, is you're going to definitely scar less. A lot less.
Yeah, 100% less. Like, it's just, I mean, and this is what's so simple about it, is it's like really just, it's simple. It's when you think about it, if you create the environment for people to heal better, and you give them what this, the earth is already doing and what God's already doing, then it's going to create a positive environment for that to take place.
100%.
And good on you guys for like just believing in that and seeing it and, doubling down, not once, but twice now, and probably 1,000 times in between that. When people told you you can't do this, you're breaking the law, you're doing this, you're hurting people, whatever it is, like, seriously, good on you guys to have the fortitude to be able to continue the journey and continue the mission forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really, honestly, it's very euphoric, and it's addictive we're slightly addictive because people will come in and they just feel good, they just feel good.
Like me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You just feel good. And that's the basis of our company. I try to stay away from all the controversy, but we've seen crazy response in people. One of the fun things was, autism is such a controversial topic, but the rates of autism, no matter who you are, no matter whether you're from the medical perspective or the anti-vax perspective, or you're the environmental perspective of why we have an increase of autism primarily in Western countries that have early childhood vaccinations, right? But primarily, whatever your perspective is, we've had some really wonderful success with autistic children. And not just me, all the hyperbaric doctors who tend to do it. The thing is, with autism, it's very hard to treat a kid if they're from the doctor's perspective, because autistic kids are very hard to deal with in very close environments.
And they don't get diagnosed. The misdiagnosis of it is so high. A kid, you can realize, a mom is probably going to know at 6 months that there is something off with my child, and that we need to look into this further.
Yeah.
But then she spends the next 3.5 years convincing providers and convincing people to do different tests so that she can get the support and the care that she needs. Mm-hmm. And it's, so I can't imagine the time where she could end up, all that time where she's not able to get into the tank, where maybe, it's really interesting. My friends are they've created a test that has been analytically validated and is on its way to being clinically validated, through FDA. And it they started off with a different disease state with treatment non-response with Remicade, which is a drug that's used for Crohn's and colitis with an IBS. But then they quickly realized that they could get these biomarkers that would, upon a blood test via RNA, that would tell a person, basically definitively whether they have a diagnosis of autism or not. And imagine that a mom, they think something's off with their baby. They can have a test at 6 months old and the baby can say, yes, this baby has these biomarkers for autism, and here is your prescription for 30 sessions in the Hyperbaric Fitness tank.
Right.
Here you go. Let's see what happens.
And change the autistic kid's gut biome, because that is a freakish big deal now. All the research now, I know why that is being used, is because most of the research now is going after the gut issues. Finally.
Yes.
It's only been 50 years,
you
know, but a lot of our diseases start in the gut. That's it.
Oh, definitely.
And it's strange that gastrointestinologists are the ones that are fighting that. It's really strange, because the gut is where everything begins, right?
Yeah, I would actually love to connect you with, I'm good friends with a doctor named Dr. Sabine Hazen, and she is probably, I'd say, one of the foremost experts on the gut microbiome in the country. She's out in California. She wrote a book during COVID called Let's Talk Shit.
Yeah.
Because she's been testing people's, bowels and testing people's, fecal matter for many, many years. She's funny. She's like, I have to like sneak around and like get my kids' poop so I could test them. And one of her kids is cool with it, but the other one is like, Mom, I don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do this. But she's still, because she cares so much about it. So it's a funny, but she knows that, she knows that there's some type of dysbiosis in the gut. And like my belief of it is that autism is it's some type of inflammation basis, and there's a lot of causes of it. I think that it's likely from the vaccines, it's likely from the environmental toxins, it's likely from the glyphosate in our food, it's likely from, stress that's being put on these kids. Maybe now it's from the dopamine and the screens that we're, having them access at a really young age. Like, I think it's everything all at once.
Yes. So we have, that's a whole nother conversation. I can tell you that my piece of it. My piece is, I know we do not cure autism.
We all know how important strength training is for long-term health, but it can be hard to know where to start. I was in the same spot a year ago. You want to make sure you're doing exercises right, avoiding injury, and getting results, but it's easy to feel lost without a plan. That's when I found On Target Fitness. At On Target, you get a custom strength program, personalized attention in a small group setting, and the nutrition coaching you need for real lasting change. In the year I've been working out there, I've gotten stronger, more mobile, and more confident. My form has improved, and even something as simple as walking feels better. The group energy keeps me motivated, and every workout is fun. On Target just opened a new location in Kingston. Now you've got even more options to experience their amazing approach. If you're ready for lasting change, head to www.ontargetfit.com and schedule your session today.
What we do is we have had multiple nonverbal kids who are past the age of 10 start talking. So we can move you forward, but we don't cure autism. I don't try to cure anything.
Symptom reduction.
I just look at how, let's see if scuba diving in a dry tank will change your physiology enough the body repairs itself. That's my philosophy about that. And we've had a nonverbal 12-year-old within 2 sessions look at his mother, who's never said a word, from 18 months old on, after he got a shot. That's all I'm going to say about that, but it's true. He had a big fever, was sick for 3 days, and then no verbal, stopped looking people in the eye, started, autistic behavior. At the age of 12, look at his mom and say, "Mommy, may I have some more milk in my cereal, please?" Full on sentence. And, pretty much changed that kid's life forever with a couple of sessions. Unfortunately, that's not how everybody responds, but then we've had others respond verbally, like come into the tank, and most of the kids respond verbally. They start looking you in the eye. They start slowing down their aggressive behavior. One girl stopped screaming 20 hours a day. And these parents love their kids, and they're, we have autistic parents, kids or parents of autistic children, grasping at any straw to be a little bit better. And as long as they come, we will try to help them. I think, honestly, most of the autistic help that I do initially is going to be in the first 10 sessions. We've had some parents do 40, 50 sessions, 100 sessions, and the greatest leap forward was in the first 8 to 10. So if I was after money, I'd be saying you got to do 120 sessions, but no, I'm going to tell you what the truth is, because I'm not there to make a money, although I need money. But I want to tell you what I discover.
Empirically, what you have seen, and this is empirically the evidence that I have seen and what I can put forth and what I can tell you honestly.
Yeah, I think the first 10 to 15, you're going to get 70% of your benefit from.
Now, and that's with autism.
With autism.
With some of the other stuff, if it's a little bit more refractory, might, like with your mom with Parkinson's, for instance, we know that was 3 times a week. That was the best. 5 times a week was even better.
So MS and Parkinson's have a lot of similarities. I think MS is just finally being discovered for what it is. I think a lot of MS is parasitical based. My opinion, the lesions in the brain, it has to do with acid levels in your brain, microparasites. But that's my opinion, and it's some other doctors' opinions too. I follow and know some of the top research.
Is it parasites in your gut? It's parasites actually in the brain.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So Dr. Lee Merritt is an amazing person to look up and watch. I could listen to her all day long. Yeah. Very smart, very well.
Lee Merritt.
Classically trained Dr. Lee Merritt for anything to do with parasites or with MS. You talk to Lee Merritt. She knows her stuff.
No, giddy up. I'm looking to do a parasite cleanse soon, but they're, as a show and what we're doing on the podcast, but it's going to be gut based. It's going to be gut based, it probably could help out with the brain stuff too, maybe.
Helps out with everything. You just you can't just, everyone is trying to do like parasite cleanse, just using ivermectin, fenbendazole, and then mebendazole, that's a great triple for, some doctors will argue that that's a great way for cancer, those 3 things,
Yep.
That's not my field, but they believe that.
Yep.
But we do know that, and I know it because I have all kinds of people who have come in looking to be in less pain with liver cancer, right? You know what they never check for, or very rarely check for? Liver flukes. They don't bother. And there are doctors who claim, and you can I'll let them argue their case. I'm not going to argue it for them, but they claim, like, my God, 80% of liver cancer people have parasites, and a lot of those are liver flukes, and we never even look for it. So, what comes first, the fluke or the cancer? I don't know. That's not my field. It's not my thing.
Right.
But it's definitely something that should be looked at, because every other freaking country in the world looks for that first, right?
Yeah.
So anywhere you go, when I was in China, when I traveled to the Middle East, when I'm in Europe, wherever I am, they always look at parasites. Like, that's one of the first things they screen for. I did a lot of time in Africa. They always look for parasites.
Right? Yep. Yeah. It's like, it's baseline. It's like, if this is something attacking your system, and, a parasite, from its, its word, the meaning parasite, means that something is it's a parasitical relationship, and, it's taking life from the host. And so,
right.
Yeah, that should be the first thing that we figure out, and first thing that we rule out if we know that disease state has any type of correlation with that type of, that type of infection or type of process that's taking place.
Yep.
What would you say is the biggest barrier to hyperbaric fitness, and what, in the future, here, I know everyone's asking you to be a future teller, fortune teller. I'm going to ask you to do it one more time. What do you think the biggest barrier will be, to people understanding and accepting this modality?
I think the real issue is that there's a lot of evidence. So I'm connected with some nationally top people, and so we have a lot of conversations that I'm just not going to repeat it here. But without a doubt, there's a huge push to make all hyperbarics in America have to happen within a hospital setting, because in 1 year, a couple years ago, they closed 170 hyperbaric little clinics, and those clinics were pretty much run by chiropractors all over Asheville, North Carolina area, North Carolina, some in California. There's been people who are part of the AMA that believe that because chiropractors with these little hyperbaric oxygen bags are taking finances away from the hospital system, they're going after them with sheriffs, they're going after them with whatever. And these people haven't hurt anybody. So if you look at the number of hyperbaric deaths, there was 2 last year. Both of them were operator error, meaning, if somebody drinks and drives, you don't blame the car manufacturer and you don't blame the auto industry. They drunk and drive, right? They did it wrong. Well, one kid was, we had a little autistic child that burned to death in Michigan. I think it was Michigan, Minnesota, one of those. Very, very tragic. That was an electronic, it was either an electronic device that was brought in, or the tank wasn't set up right, or there was some issue. And there's $180 million lawsuit, and they arrested the practitioners. My God, that person has saved and helped so many hundreds of people. They vilified the wrong person. Another doctor or a medical person burned himself to death, but he had 6 electronic devices in an oxygen system. And I just had one of the engineers who looked at that tell me, no, it wasn't an oxygen system. But what was he doing with 6 electronic devices in a hyperbaric environment? You come to Hyperbaric Fitness, we will pat you down. You don't even get to have your key fobs on you. Nobody brings anything in there. Not that in an atmosphere environment, you're not going to burn to death. But
there's, just to be clear, there's not the same risk, guys, because you're not introducing, introducing exogenous oxygen as a drug. You're not pumping it into the system. You are bringing it in from the outside and then pressurizing that. So you're not creating a flammable situation.
It's a non-flammable. We actually, just for fun on our website, you're going to see that we actually went into our tank, lit a candle, and we pressurized that thing while I was in it, just to show you that flame on is not a problem. But if you did that in a hospital environment with pure oxygen tank, you would lose the whole floor of that hospital, because it's an accelerant, and instantly all the rubber, your skin, everything becomes part of TNT, and it's just boom, flame on, and you are ash. You were burnt, and you are ash instantly. So that's just how it works. You get the 2,500 degrees in a 200th or 400th of a second. That's how fast it happens. Which then you can talk about why they have fire suppression, that spray, because it flashes so fast in pure oxygen.
Doesn't matter.
It won't. It doesn't. It makes you feel better that there's water in there, but you're already dead. So that's another conversation. But we have engineers now that are designing our new system with all the right stuff, and it's quite involved, actually. So, but yeah, we're safe. We're totally safe. We can have fire. We can have a freaking campfire in there.
Yeah, and that might be the barrier that people might see, is that people got to know that it's safe, and that's the job of the marketing and letting people know of just like, hey, I'm getting. We have
to either change the understanding of the FDA, the NFPA 99 codes, and the NFPA 99 FDA, and then the AMA. It's a matter of educating them, honestly, because a lot of the things that are written from the 1950s.
Right.
And, we don't use mercury-based lights. So they still have that. They still have strange lights in the code. There's things called LEDs that are not oxygen-based and, can't flame on.
Right.
Why are we doing portholes? Why are we still doing portholes? We have cameras. If you've got a big system, you don't need portholes, but it says in the code, you will have a viewport so the doctor's looking in. Well, we're not doctors, and why are we looking in? We have society is advanced, mankind is advanced, and so they are looking at updating, but what they're doing is they're trying to, they made one change last November that brought all hyperbarics under the medical guys, which that's just not,
we're doing diving science over here.
We're not doing what you're doing. We wouldn't use oxygen. No, thank you.
Right.
So, so the biggest challenge is that there is a lot of pressure. The medical community has been losing too much money to these chiropractors who have these little hyperbaric bags, and so they're directly going after them. And we're still kind of insulated from that because we aren't chiropractors and we're not doing medical intervention.
Right.
And we're not doing oxygen as a drug. Are they going to figure out how to shut us down?
Not going to try.
Not if we get big enough, quick enough.
Right, exactly. Not if we can help enough people, right? Not if we can help enough people and create enough noise around it. Just so people can know, what is a typical we'll release this, guy, so that you can see it, me walking through the space and going for a dive, and you can see how non-invasive and how cool it's really just going to hang out. And sometimes you get to hang out with Joe, which is really cool. And but otherwise you're always going in there with other people, which great conversation takes place, connection takes place, which is really neat. I just can you just tell, my audience what a typical session would look like?
Yeah, so you walk in, you fill out a form, we ask you some questions because you might have some pre-existing condition that would prevent you from diving in one of our tanks. And honestly, if you have one of those, then I just send you back to your practitioner, your doctor, and I say you need to get certified, or you need to have a doctor note saying, yes, I could get in a hyperbaric chamber. That's just wisdom, right? And although I've had to educate the doctors because they have no clue. They don't know. What do you mean?
They likely just call you, right?
No, he can't dive because he could drown because he has asthma. He can't dive because he has asthma. Okay, so actually you can dive. It's dry dive, and we're not going underwater. There's no sharks, whale poop, and no, this is air. Well, why is he doing it then? Okay, well, so then you have to walk him through the whole thing. I've done that a few times, but if anybody has a medical condition that we don't know about, I send them back. So we ask you a questionnaire, then you can get in the tank. So you just walk in the tank, you shed all your electronic devices, any pressure, no perfumes. We try to have you not put on any cologne. You're with other people. It's a big environment, but just no cologne, no odoriferous deodorant. Just be natural. Come in. Begins to pressurize. You clear your ears. Some people have a hard time with ears. My wife is one of them. I've still gotten her to the bottom. I've actually taken her to 105 feet. But people who have ears, we can get you down. We just got to take extra time. Mm-hmm. I think there's been 2 people I could not get down for ear adjustments, and they had major medical issues with their ears. Mm-hmm. I think
yeah, guys, it's like going on an airplane, maybe a little bit more than going on an airplane in terms of the discomfort in your ears. But you just, you go in, you chew gum. Yeah, they offer some great gum, swallow, drink water. You can do that, that technique where you close your nose and you kind of blow out your ears. And so it's a little bit uncomfortable, but not really at all.
Yeah, and then after you've done it a few times, you don't even know you're adjusting. We have a Eustacia device recommended by a Dartmouth Hitchcock ENT, mm-hmm. Ear, nose, throat guy, really great guy. Like I said, I have really good doctor contacts and friends. We're not enemies.
Well, they trust you on the back end. They know that I can send them to Joe because I know that this stuff works. But hey, I can't say this at my journal club this week because it's just not accepted in this world yet.
But they also know that if somebody comes to me and I'm not comfortable, I send them to the doctors. So it's a symbiotic relationship. We're not against each other. Anyway, so then we pressurize you, and if your ears don't clear, we just we bounce the pressure up and down a little bit. Mm-hmm. By the time you're past 15 feet, your ear, the differential isn't that much. You just keep on going down. My wife's problems all stem before 10 feet. If we can get her past 10 feet, her ears just clear all the rest of the way. And so, and she's one of the hardest people to clear with her ears. Very small Eustacia.
Yeah, well, it's good. It's a good person to have to to keep at that baseline, to know that if this is the person, obviously how much you've talked about it, you really care about your wife, you love your wife.
Absolutely.
I know that not just from today, but from every time that we've met. You are a family man, Joe, and I appreciate it so much. And I it makes me want to be a better family man, and having that in your community is an amazing thing. So thank you for that, and thank you for the way you speak about your wife and about your family. But having that person as the baseline, that's a pretty good, if we can get her down, and she's very sensitive to it, we can get anybody. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the case. So then you're at the bottom, and say we're at our 33-foot dive. We're doing 2 atmospheres. By the way, I didn't even talk about Jacques Cousteau yet, but some incredible discoveries were made in the 50s or 70s that just explain what we do so well in the diving world anyway. But so then you're sitting there, and then your mitochondria pick up, your stem cells are released, you relax. A lot of people instantly fall asleep. We've had people with pancreatic cancer on all kinds of drugs trying to, it's so painful. They've taken whatever they take and their body adapts to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're lucky or unlucky, I don't know, they live longer, the pain increases. Pancreatic cancer is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 2 ladies with it who gets in our, they were there all the time, because when they get in my tank, their pain shuts off at 30 feet, just shuts off. And they start crying, they hug each other. And my staff and I, we fell in love with these ladies, and just such wonderful people. And they would cry when we had to come out of the tank, because they knew within a few hours their pain would come back. And we didn't cure them. One lady actually went cancer-free
Mm-hmm.
in our tank, and then the hospital chose to double down on a chemo that she was allergic to, and it killed all her bone marrow off, and then she passed. So hers was a case where she didn't die of her cancer. She died of, the treatment. That's not
medical intervention. Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not against chemo. I'm not against cancer. I love oncologists. I want to see everybody get better at what they do. We need both. We need both approaches. I am not against doctors and cancer doctors. I am for them. I think, though, that our system doesn't really encourage them to look at what other countries are doing who have greater success. That is not the automatic. My automatic is, hey, my daughter, my mother, my person I love, my friend, my neighbor. Jesus said, love your neighbor. My neighbors that I love, they have cancer. Oh, you have their path in America is you're going to die within 6 months to a year. Well, what's the path in Switzerland? What's the path in Finland? If you go to Japan. So I ask those questions of my oncologist friends. I've got 2 friends that are oncologists. Oh, we don't look at that. Well, why don't you? Well, it's a different culture. It's probably a different diet. I would say that to me again. Say that one more time. Yeah. Because when an oncologist says, it doesn't matter what you eat, that's code for, you're gone, baby. We can't help you. No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I literally had an oncologist tell me, well, in Japan, they have a whole different culture, different food, different stress levels, different... please say that again to me. Right? So that you can hear yourself say it.
Right.
Because that person said, it doesn't matter what you eat. Food has nothing to do with cancer.
Yeah. I think we're learning. The paradigm in medicine is shifting. Did you want to mention some of the stuff that Cousteau found?
Yeah. So Cousteau built this underwater habitat in 1962, and there's a movie everyone should watch. It's called World Without Sun. Watch the English version unless you parlez-vous français, Francois. It was Francais. Unless you speak French, watch the English version of World Without Sun. And in it, about, I guess, 9 to 18 minutes, depending on which version you get. There's a lot of really cool diving stuff, which I love. But he says, when you're at the bottom of the ocean, in his underwater habitat, his big yellow submarine, that's why I painted it yellow, big yellow underwater habitat, he said, cuts and abrasions heal completely overnight. And on my wall in Swansea, there's a picture of a diver, of Cousteau in fins from that movie. I don't know if I illegally cut it and copied and pasted and printed it. I don't care. I'll pay them whatever they want. And it shows Cousteau looking in a window, but there's a bit of coral reef next to him. And the cool history is that piece of coral was right in front of their underwater lock. So they would swim by that coral to get into the pressure system. And some of them would cut themselves on that coral on the way into the lock. And it would be cut deep. And coral cuts, if you're a diver, they're full of biomatter. They do not heal well. You got to pretty much stay in the ocean and let the ocean water and the salt pull it out. But coral cuts don't heal well. Well, Cousteau was talking about his divers getting cut on that coral in my picture, and it would be healed the next day without a scar. It heals completely overnight. So when he said that, there was some pushback. Well, and the pushback was, Cousteau is just a dumb Frenchman. He's a diver. He's not a doctor. Why is he getting into our field? That was kind of the pushback on that. Well, he didn't know about stem cells. Stem cells were discovered in 1978. There was a Dr. Price from Harvard who I spent a little time with, who I think his name was Dr. Price, his name is on one of the discoveries. And that was 1962. So Cousteau we didn't know about progenitor stem cells. We didn't have the electron microscope discovery at that point. um, he just knew that his divers would rapid heal under pressure. And he didn't even know what it was. But they also showed him smoking underwater, in the environment, which the hyperbaric, when I meet with hyperbaric doctors, I say, let me show you a video clip. And I show him pull out his thing and light up. And they instantly go, oh my God, because, they only know the oxygen, the pure oxygen part, right? Boom, everybody's dead. They're like, why isn't he even fire? Well, it's because
he's a Frenchman and they love his cigarette.
They are known for what they're known for, and it's not untrue.
Yeah, right.
And so, so Cousteau figured that out. And then, and that was part of my thinking to help my mother was, wait a minute, cuts and abrasions heal completely overnight. Well, that was in 1962. Why did it take? And the movie came out in 74, but all that discovery was all published. When did wound care therapy come in? Years and years, decades later.
Yeah.
Decades later. It takes so long for the medical community to adapt to the science. Right now, all over the world, they're making major scientific breakthroughs with cancer. And I love reading about cancer, and I love reading what doctors figure out and what researchers figure out. But now you just put a 5, 10, or 15-year mark on before anybody gets anything from the discovery, right? Because there has to be enough time for them I'm going to say maximizing profit under the current system. I actually got a call from a hyperbaric doctor who, met an owner of a facility that he had a hyperbaric doctor and he had hyperbaric personnel. The owner called me and said, I effing hate you. And I said, I won't say all the words. And I said, why now? Because we had a love-hate relationship, strong men, fight and yell at each other and call each other names. I have those friends. And he goes, I effing hate you. And I said, why this time? And he goes, you're killing me. He goes, I have a certain amount of money invested. He said, I had professionals do profit analysis. I have a business plan. He said, what I did was, because I have a doctor that does hyperbaric intervention. He goes, what I did was, I'd visited that center. I watched what he did medically, and then I showed him what I do. And I don't want to go into any more details on it. But he said, I deal with people. I have certain new tests that tell me how fast somebody with traumatic brain injury, depending on which location, how fast they come back and how much of them comes back. And he goes, remember so-and-so that you met? I said, yeah. He said, we knew that after 80 sessions in an oxygen tank, he would be at this level. He said, and we charge, $1,200 or whatever per session for what we do. And we knew that after 80 sessions and $100,000 that we're going to level him up to be, 30% better. And he goes, we've done so many over the years. We know exactly what we're doing. I said, okay. And he goes, we did it. We leveled him to 95% of normal in 11 sessions and you're using your modality. Wow. And he goes, in your sessions were only $120.
Right. Yeah.
And because you couldn't get down to, I was charging at the time like $45 and $50 per session.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, we're never going to do that. Can't make any blank money. So he goes, we charge $120. So in 11 sessions, that guy went to 95% of normal with a severe brain injury. 11 sessions, 11 days. And he said it was 80 sessions to do the same, to do less good. 80 sessions with HBOT. So now that statement will get me in trouble with the HBOT doctors. But the guy called me and he goes, you're killing my business. You're going to bankrupt me. You're disrupting my industry. That's what he said.
Yeah. Guess what, guys? You could create the same tanks that Joe's creating. So maybe just listen to his science, listen to the science that he's doing, the diving science, and see what's happening empirically with the people that he's seeing and the clients that he's treating.
Yeah.
Not treating, the clients that he's supporting.
Right. So anyway, it's just very industry disruptive. That's the biggest problem because nobody cares what you do with people as long as you're not messing with a money supply. It's what is the ills for mankind, according to Billy Graham? Silver, self, sex, money, sex, and power.
Yep.
As soon as you touch any one of those three things, everyone goes crazy on you. So, but I just look at the person in front of me. I care about the person. right? If we get back to that, whoever's in front of you, I don't care whether they agree with you theologically, ideology, lifestyle choices, culturally, racially, I don't really care. If you value the person and love that person, you'll do anything to see them advance in life, right? And that's how my whole company formed. Is I was trying to save my mom, and then I realized, and I couldn't say, I can't quote save her, but I definitely helped her. Now I realize, ooh, I got this powerful tool. I can see who else can I help. I didn't know that, you know, I was ignorant. I did not know that it would cause such a big stink, but it did. It's all right. We're fully in operation. We're doing good. We're investing heavily for the future. I have other locations that are planned in different states that I've already got teams for. I already have investors for. And we came to Hooksett because I had so many people come from this part of the state. I mean, you guys, honestly, where I'm living is one of the lowest incomes, fewest amount of people in New Hampshire. And it's kind of the forgotten corner. And we had a lot of people coming from the coast, the sea coast, from Manchester and Nashua. And so I started looking to put one over here, and we had helped a bunch of people already. So from the people we had helped, I was like, hey, are you a diver? You want to learn how to do this? And so I just recruited. And they, when you save somebody's parent or you help their kid, you've got this relational loyalty. And I tried to screen for people who were in it to make a ton of money quick. I've had a lot of those people. Hey, Joe, you're doing this wrong. I'm a business analyst. You could be making so much more money. Just pack more dives in or shorten this term. And I'm like, thank you. We are done talking.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah.
As soon as you put the dollar before the person or the dollar before safety, you're done. I'm done. So even my tanks, I way over-engineered the tank in Swansea. And I just safety first. I had one guy that inspected it, goes, from the state, goes, why did you overbuild this thing? This is crazy. You can go to 500 feet with this thing. You're going to what, 55 feet? I said, yeah, because you can go to 500 in this thing. I said, safety. You can't be safe enough, But, since then they have other rules that came into play that you have to. Anyway, there's a lot of economic control on what we do. There's a lot of regulations, and you got to be up on them. Yeah. And they're always changing on purpose. They're changing all the time.
Yeah, but it seems like with your ethos and the mission that you guys have, that in the way that you're doing it is you're guided on safety for the clients and for the best outcome for the client and the person who's coming into the tank, and so that you don't even have to ever worry about that stuff because it's baked into your ethos, and you're not putting the money first, you're putting the person first. And so I don't think that we ever have to worry about Hyperbaric Fitness for any of those reasons.
No, it's not, because I'm in it myself. My wife and kids are in it. Yeah. So your
grandkids, your three-day-old grandkid,
100%.
Bring it.
Just make it safe.
Yeah.
And we spend crazy money making everything safe. And yeah.
How can, if people want to get signed up for this and they want some more information or they want to come in for a dive, what's the best way for them to do that?
Go on hyperbaricfitness.com. And you can sign up online or you can call directly, and then we'll interview you, and you can fill out the forms online or come in and fill it out with us. And then one of us will take you through a introduction. And if there are people who are concerned, well, I don't know if my ears adjust and I don't like to fly in an airplane, just come in between dives. We have 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes a half hour in between dives, or come early or stay late. And we'll just put you in the tank, no charge, and just see if we can adjust you at 5 feet. Just do it really quickly to see if it'll work for you. And then they're like, oh, okay, now I'll choose and I'll buy some sessions. So we do that.
Yeah, I want everyone to know, please hear me right now. It's so safe. It is non-claustrophobic. I know that's something that you're not going underwater for sure. I know we've said that and joked around about it quite a bit today. But the claustrophobia thing is something that people have brought to me, and let me tell you guys, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3", 185 pounds, and there's literally this much space between Joe and I. It's like a bigger than a movie theater. You get these big seats. Like it is not you don't feel enclosed. You feel so safe and, grounded in it. And yeah, so come do a dive with me. Come do a dive with Joe. Come check them out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Guys, Hyperbaric Fitness is hyperbaricfitness.com is their website. Hyperbaric Fitness is their socials. They have a young and a wonderful young lady over there who who does their marketing and does their social media. She's incredible. And so
Reagan.
Yeah, giddy up, baby, giddy up. And so please guys go check them out. I know that I will be doing some dives down there over the next year. Just to continue to hone in this modality and learn it. And so if you're interested in diving with me, hit me up. We will do that together. There'll be some great conversations taking place in the tank at that point. I want to thank you, Joe, so much for coming on the show today, for taking a chance and opening up, your business to me and showing that we can help move holistic modalities to, forward together. I think you're an incredible man. I am very excited to be walking this path with you, and I'm just very grateful.
Well, I'm thrilled to see what the future holds. And by the way, people always ask, what is the cost? Is it a lot of money? It's the cost of a chiropractor. Swansea is a little cheaper because we developed it debt-free. We had a big investment in. So it's between $50 and $80. So $85. The first one might be $100, but we can work on all that. So
yeah, you hear that?
We're cheap.
You hear that, guys? Like you said, if you're getting chiropractic care and you're already exploring other modalities, this is not going to break the bank. Let me add one thing. Do we have any HSA? Is there any ability for that
so
coming in?
In Swansea, we've actually had great success. Like 8 out of 10 people who have HSA accounts, health savings accounts, they just submit it and get it, and they reimburse up to like $3,000 a year.
Yeah. So like you have the HSA going, so that's something that we're all learning as this paradigm.
They should check with their HSA, but
for sure,
about 8 out of 10 do it.
But that's part of it too, is people are starting to take back agency within their own health and realizing I can't just be a passive observer. I need to be a person who's actively involved in this, and that's why people can seek out these type of modalities that are different, right? Holistic, natural. And then they can learn that, I can actually get a lot of this stuff paid for through the system that does already exist. And not just because we've beaten down, hey, why don't they pay for my gym membership? Why don't they help me pay for my diet? Why don't they help me pay for the stuff that actually helps me? And the insurance companies have been forced to at least provide a little something that's still very hidden, but can be very useful.
Right. And we are officially a health and wellness gym. So that's our insurance. We're a gym.
Love it.
We're health and wellness. We're not nothing medical.
Right, exactly. It is health and wellness. It fits perfectly over here with Dr. BeeWell. Joe, you and the team over at Hyperbaric Fitness, I thank you so much for coming on the show today. You are truly a giddy up, my friend. I cannot wait to continue to walk this path with you and to get in that tank with you more, to show people how safe and effective it is, how much it can help them and their loved ones. Guys, please sign up for Hyperbaric Fitness. Go do a dive. Check them out online. Subscribe to my show if you want to learn more about these guys, learn more about holistic health. Joe, thank you again, brother.
Thank you.
Until next time, giddy up.
Giddy up.